Greetings, this is Greg. We're in a P-47 D40 on the Wolfpack Normandy server. We're going to be attacking some Ju88s here over Jersey Island. They're in a line abreast formation. I'm just going to fly through the formation and shoot everyone we can. This isn't the safest way to do this, but originally when I recorded this footage, I was trying to demonstrate battle damage on the P-47 and also the effectiveness of the P-47's firepower. So that was the intent, but this still makes for pretty good video and showcases what you can do with this airplane. Notice that my 850s make very quick work of these Ju88s. They have no effective protection against my weapons at this range. On the other hand, when taking fire from the front or rear, which is what I'm doing when I'm attacking a line abreast formation, the P-47 can absorb an awful lot of German 8mm rounds. Another one's on fire. Once they're on fire, they are almost certainly going down, and even the ones that don't catch on fire that I do hit are pretty badly damaged, and my allies will make very quick work of them. And in fact, none of the Ju88s in this formation made it to their target at St. Lo. On the Wolfpack server, there are German and Allied ground forces positioned at places that were historically relevant, and there were both German and Allied forces near the town of St. Lo, and there were a lot of very important battles there in World War II, and some fairly fierce battles. That Ju88 didn't catch fire, but I don't think that engine's going to keep running with no cooling system. And now we'll take some shots at the leader, and he's on fire. So now we decide, do we want to turn around and go through them again, because I still have a fair bit of ammo left, or do I want to return to base? Well, that decision's made pretty quickly here. I have no oil pressure, so I'm going to have to try to return to base. Initially, I'm just going to try to make it to the shore, and I'll ditch the plane there. Keep in mind, we cannot ditch in a P-47 over water. Well, you can, but your odds of surviving are very low. Sadly, that was demonstrated in real life just a couple years ago. The P-47 is, however, very good at ditching on land. It has a crash skid. Over land, if the plane is controllable, ditching is hugely preferable to bailing out, but over water, bailing out is really your only option. Notice my throttle's non-responsive here. That means I'm going to have to just leave it where it is and pulling the prop power back a little bit. Once I'm within gliding distance of the airport, I'll pull the fuel control, well, it's not a fuel control switch, it's not a turbine, Greg, the mixture lever back to idle cutoff, which I just did, and we'll glide our way into the airport. P-47 especially, with no external stores, glides reasonably well. And surprisingly, that has nothing to do with weight. Your glide ratio is the same regardless of weight. Your best glide speed will vary quite a bit, but not your glide ratio. So even a heavy P-47 glides pretty darn well. You'll see we'll make the airport with no problem. As a matter of fact, the bigger problem is going to be losing the speed, because the P-47 is slicker than you might think. I've talked to quite a few real World War II pilots. Early in my aviation career, those guys were designated examiners and check airmen and stuff, and I flew with a lot of them, and I've been told on more than one occasion by guys that flew in the European theater, and that's an important caveat, that they didn't have a whole lot of faith in their parachutes, and they would much prefer to ditch. And I'm generally the same way in the simulation. I would much rather ditch than bail out. Also, the scoring system, at least on this particular server, favors ditching very heavily. If you don't damage the airplane too badly, it won't even count as a loss or a kill for the guy that shot you up. So we're doing some S-turns here. The gear's down. The flaps didn't want to come down. I'm not going to worry about the flaps. I'm just going to come in and land at a little bit abnormally high speed. I'm not too worried about damaging anything on the airplane at this point. It's obviously going to be in maintenance for quite a while anyway. Actually, after I land, I'm just going to get a new airplane and go into another battle. So we've easily made our airfield here at Lassay, and I want to wait till the plane comes to a stop. We actually did damage the gear a little bit, touched down a little too fast, a little too hard. Anyway, I want the plane to come to a stop so that you can see the holes in the propeller. DCS models the P-47 very well, especially in regards to damage, and all the holes in the propeller is accurate, both in terms of the odds of getting hit there and the loss of performance on the airplane. I find that pretty impressive. I actually moved the mixture forward there to try and get the engine to catch again. It didn't quite work out. I thought I'd be able to taxi off the runway, but no. Anyhow, the propeller's pretty badly damaged. The plane's pretty shot up. We're going to get a new one and go up against some fighters. So now we're on the other Normandy coast, and I'm asking radar where the enemies are, and it turns out there's one not too far away. You'll see me use padlock, which puts little red boxes around the target. That only works if you're looking just about right at the target. In DCS, it's not a search feature like it is in some other simulators. It just helps you pick out targets against the ground clutter. I feel no shame in using it. Now, I'm diving in on a 109. Of course, I'm recording this after the fact. I know it's a 109 because I've already seen it in the past. But I know he's there because of the anti-aircraft fire and because of the radar report. And I'm going to keep my speed up and basically just do a drive-by here. I don't want to get involved in a dogfight if I don't have to. I just want to drive on by and send him some freedom his way. So we got some good hits, and with our superior speed and hugely superior energy status, we're going to climb up. He can't do anything about it. And because I know there are no other enemies around, I'm going to come back in on him. There is a chance that if I don't do that, another friendly will get some rounds into him before he crashes and steal the kill, so to speak, if stealing is even a valid concept in this sort of situation. So I'll light him up a little bit more. He's on fire. He is absolutely done for. Offset to the left so that he doesn't hit me with those desperation shots. This particular 109 pilot is actually one of the best ones on the server. I just got really lucky and caught him in a really bad situation. He's also very much a damn the torpedoes full speed ahead guy. He just went in there, meaning that what I mean by that is he doesn't very often quit the fight and ditch the plane or bail out. He goes to the bitter end, which is why he sacrificed himself to try and get those shots off on me. Now there's another airplane that just went by. It's a P-51, but I got to be a little worried. Is he chasing somebody or somebody chasing him? Or maybe I misidentified him. So I'm going to stay behind him and look all around, check radar, make sure we're safe. And yeah, we are. There's no one else around here. So just a moment, we'll fast forward to the next battle. Now this one is pretty interesting. The attempt with this fight was to create a fair fight. I put out a request for someone to meet me for a fair and square 1v1 halfway between an Allied and an Axis airbase. As it turns out, my opponent came quite a bit farther north than I expected. I don't know why he just didn't stop at the midpoint and climb there, but in any case, the battle ends up taking place very near an Allied base, and the Allied anti-aircraft fire, although it never hit him, it certainly helped me keep my opponent in sight. Plus, I was climbing at max continuous power and best rate of climb the whole way here, so I'm coming in with a bit of an altitude advantage, and now I'm descending, so I've got an altitude and a speed advantage. My opponent chose a 109 K4. I don't know how he has it configured. I have my P-47 configured about optimally for air-to-air. No wing pylons, even though that's not really realistic for World War II. And a little less ammo than normal, and only take some shots there in the head-on pass. I obviously didn't hit. Anyhow, we've only got about less than an hour of fuel. One nice thing with the P-47 is that you can take shots where other airplanes might have a lower probability of hitting for two reasons. One, your chances are better than average because you're throwing so much lead out there with 850 cals. But also, you have so much ammo in the P-47 that even with the reduced ammo load like I have now, I can afford to take low probability shots, and sometimes I'll get those hits. Where the 109, he can do that with his two 13mm cowl-mounted machine guns, but he really can't waste ammo with his 30mm because he has so little of it. So there are a lot of times I can take shots like right there. There wasn't much chance of that hitting, but it might upset him and cause him to make a mistake, and it didn't really cost me anything. Notice I'm using the flaps when I'm concerned about turn performance, and I'm retracting the flaps when I'm trying to climb or gain energy in any way. He's alternating between a vertical and a horizontal turn strategy, and I have to say that's throwing me off a little bit, and you'll see it leads me to extend out too far, and it almost gives him the opportunity to get his nose pointed at me. Not quite. I did mess this up here, but I didn't mess it up too badly. He didn't get any rounds on target. And now it's sort of deteriorating into a straight up turn fight, which is good for me. The P-47 with 10 degrees of flaps, no pylons, and at this weight can turn very well, about the same as the 109 K4. Remember, the K4 is a pretty heavy 109. Also, it helps that I know how to use the 47. I'm using the flaps to my advantage, which is important, and also I'm using the full 2600 horsepower. I know from talking to people, we'll get some hits right about here, I know from people talking to me on Discord when I'm on this server that there are quite a few people out there that don't fully understand how to manage the P-47's engine. You definitely want to use the water methanol injection. That gives you another 600 horsepower, and you want to always have the throttle full forward if you're at max power, and then the turbo lever just however far you need it to get your 64 inches of manifold pressure or whatever you're running. Any other way of doing it will cost you about 300 horsepower. So mismanagement of the P-47's engine will cost you about 900 horsepower. Your 2600 horsepower engine becomes a 1700 horsepower engine. And if that's the case, you really don't stand a chance with the airplane. You also need to use the water methanol pretty sparingly. The tank is a decent size, but it's not huge. Now, I've outturned this 109, and I've got several shots. Here I thought he was going into a low yo-yo, which I thought, well, that's a really weird tactical choice. I'm not going to follow that. I'm just going to stay in a horizontal turn because I know I'm going to come around on him at this point, especially because he's already damaged. I've hit him 3 times, and there we go, he crashed. Now, none of my hits were really great tracking gunshots, you know, the kind where he catches on fire or blows a bunch of steam out of his radiator. Nothing like that, but they were a few times I just chipped away at him, and that's the effect of the 50 calibers when you're in these kind of dogfights, and they're very effective. And the P-47 is an effective dogfighter, and the 109 guys tend to get overconfident because they're used to attacking P-47s that are not set up for air-to-air, because frankly most guys that are flying air-to-air on the Allied side take a Spitfire or P-51, and there are good reasons for doing that. But the P-47 set up for air-to-air is pretty formidable. And what I mean again by that is go with 267 rounds per gun instead of 430, whatever they carry, and no more than an hour of fuel. Basically, you're taking off with a fuel load in terms of time about equivalent to what a 109 would take off with, and no wing pylons, which is completely unrealistic historically. I get that, but then again, historically, we could be running 70 or 72 inches of manifold pressure, and we're only using 64. Apparently, someone's at my front door. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. I don't know if you guys heard that or not. Dog was barking, doorbell rang. Nobody ever comes to my house. I live in the middle of nowhere. Anyhow, this isn't that kind of video where I'm going to go edit that out. I'm just trying to get this done. So we're coming in for a landing, not doing a particularly great job. I want to thank that gentleman for volunteering for that dogfight with the 109. He did a good job. He just came in at a disadvantaged position, and he shoots me down all the time. So it can go either way. And I was going to put this video up regardless of who won. The original intent of this footage was not to make this video. It was to have a video to act as filler in a video I recently made on aircraft damage. But I got some questions in the comment section on that video about what was going on, so I thought, well, I'll just finish this all up. I even chose this paint scheme specifically for air-to-air. I think it's the hardest one to see, and the P-47 is an easy airplane to see because it's so big. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. These aren't, see, I messed up the landing. These aren't going to be the type of videos I make very often. I just do a DCS one every now and then. They're kind of fun to do, and they don't take any time. So that's all for now. Have a great day.